Well, as you know, for maybe a year or a bit more or less, I can't remember, I've been downloading various models of Hugging Face, the website, and other places, uh, and running them on my computer because I think this is the future, that we'll be using AI not just online but smaller AIs in the home. But I had this thought, would it be possible to have an AI that you can converse with a bit more like a human and not have to type things? And even if you, the ones I've used in the past, the programs I've produced, you have to press a button to speak and wait and so on. And I thought, would it be more possible to have snappy responses and put an AI into a debate on, let's say, TikTok or something like that, on an online forum, acting like a human? Would that be possible? So we'll talk about that in a second. But what I use for this is the Qwen 2.5 model. It's the Alibaba and Alibaba one. It's not got any vision on it. And it uses this thing in the background called the Llama, which is a program. You can actually run models online with it, but I'm running it as a daemon, it's called. That means only background services. It's so like a watcher. And the model's running entirely on my PC, of course, with a vision card, an NVIDIA card running to speed it up. But it's quite surprising, I think, what you'll find that you can do nowadays. So let's move on. Oh, first of all, this Llama thing, I'd not come across it, but you can go there and you can actually run models, try out models online. Or you can do what I did and download the model from Hugging Face normally, and then run it offline. So you need Llama, but it's running offline. So some new terms first before we get into it. Barge in, not barging, but barge in. Although I believe barging has been used in the past for radio systems. Ducking, and well, I'm not going to talk about this in this talk, but a domain-specific language. I've used that before for the lighting system, but in this particular presentation, it's not. I'm not using a domain-specific language, but I'm using barge in and ducking. And what that means is, if you're having a conversation or a debate, normally there's somebody else might well say, "Oh, hang on a minute, I don't agree with that," and maybe challenge you. And when you do that, the person who's speaking may do what's called ducking, a technical term, which means the volume of his speech might dip down to hear what the other person is saying. And it might, of course, he might ignore it completely, or he might give in and say, "Oh, okay, what do you actually want? What is it?" Or just wait for the other person to speak. So in real debates, these sort of things happen. There's the barging in and the ducking. Of course, not in a professional debate where somebody just gives the talk and then there's questions afterwards. But in these other debates that you see, like online, somebody will, just jump straight in and talk over the other person. So it should be able to deal with that. So we have this thing called barge in, where if you speak when the AI is speaking, it will reduce in volume, it'll do ducking, and then it'll let you speak, so you can speak over it. But there's two ways of doing this. There's these old terms that we come across in communications, half duplex and full duplex, and they refer to communication links, and this is a communications link even though it's with speech recognition. Half duplex was used a lot in the past. It was used on the Apollo programs. If you can remember, when the astronauts spoke, there was this sort of beep noise, okay, we're finished now, Houston, beep. And that was to say, I'm finished the transmission, and then they could talk. Otherwise, what happens is you try to talk over one another, which you can't do on a half duplex line. You've only got communications in one direction, and which they had in the Apollo, I believe, in the Apollo program. I don't think they had full duplex. Full duplex, on the other hand, is when you can speak like a normal telephone, and you can speak on top of one another, and somebody's saying one thing and you're talking over them, and that's probably the best way of doing it, but each has its, quirks. And I'm going to give you a demo of both the half duplex way and the full duplex way. But before we do that, just some examples already in production. Alexa uses half duplex. It gives you a tone to tell you when to speak and a keyword. And I've used this one, computer. So I'll just give you an example because I've got one in the background here. Computer, what is the weather? Computer, stop. And that's me telling it to shut up. So that's the Barge In. So they use Barge In already, and you hear the tone, and that kind of knows that it's ready. It's like a ready tone. So I've got something like that as well, which I'll show you. I had used a tone, but I'm using a Star Trek sound instead, which I think is more interesting. Now, ChatGPT 5, you might think has got this, but it hasn't actually. It's not fully duplex, full duplex, so it says anyway. But they are working on it, and it may well be soon. So you can't talk over GPT-5 according to this. I can't remember. I mean, I have used this in voice mode. I normally use it in text mode. But you can't talk over it, so you have to wait till it stops speaking or stop it some other way, maybe press a button or something, and then you speak. So in voice mode and ChatGPT 5, you have to wait until it finishes speaking. Some automated telephone booking inquiry systems need Barge In, so that you can sort of come in and stop it halfway through, otherwise it might ramble on, giving more, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for that, and you go 2, and you don't want it to say the rest of it because you've said your number 2. So Alexa has Barge In. I've just said that. So this Qwen system, that's the Alibaba one, and Meta, I believe, Meta AI, can use any word for Barge In. It doesn't use. Alexa uses a keyword, which is computer. Computer. Oh, it's not listening to me. I was just talking to Alexa there, and I used computer as the keyword. Decided not to speak to me, but I don't need a keyword here. I can use any language. It uses a voice activity detector. In other words, the energy in the speech to, if it's greater than a certain threshold, then it's a little bit fiddly to get it running to begin with. Then it will do ducking first. It'll turn the volume down of the text to speech, and eventually just stop when it's speaking altogether if your volume's above a certain amount. If you just speak over it, then its volume will probably reduce, not necessarily stopping. Application could be used in live discussions, for example. A TikTok live is not a very good example, but some kind of expert online that you can just converse with. So let's get on with the demos, and I think you'll be quite impressed this time because we really got really snappy responses, especially with the full duplex. It's quite a fascinating area with holding lots of promise. Okay, we're going to start with the demos. I'm going to do the half duplex first. This is the computer program here, various forms of it. I downloaded the model. It's about 1400 lines. There's various other parts of it. Let's see, where is it? Qwen. So this is the model part, and that's the prompt. You're a friendly and detailed AI assistant. Speak naturally, explain clearly, and remember context. So the system prompt can be changed. I'll talk about that maybe in another video. And I'll go back to the main program. So first of all, half duplex, which isn't quite as good as full duplex. And I can't do commentary during this because the AI will hear me and respond to everything I say. So, and if I mute it, I'll also mute the recording. So I made that mistake earlier. So I'm going to have to just go straight through this and comment later. So let's run this up. And you'll see this is the output window here, which can do LaTeX in real time. So for equations and so on, I think we got that sorted at last, more or less. Keep an eye on this green thing here. This is the gain. It's like an automatic gain control. It reduces the gain when I speak, if I'm speaking over the text. It doesn't have a great use in half duplex other than to barge in, and it'll stop. When I do the barge in mode, it'll duck down, the volume will go down and it'll stop. But it's more important really on the full duplex. So let's do half duplex. And let's get going. I'll click a sappy 5 voice and just start. Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm just a digital entity, so I don't have feelings or experiences, but I'm here and ready to help you with any questions or tasks you might have. How can I assist you today?
What is Stokes' theorem?
Sure, Stokes' theorem is a fundamental result in vector calculus that relates the surface integral of the curl of a vector field over a surface to the line integral of the vector field around the boundary of that surface. It's often expressed as equation here. Equation is the boundary of the surface equation, equation is a vector field, and equation represents the curl of the vector field. Do you need help with understanding the theorem, applying it to specific problems, or something else related to Stokes' theorem?
No. Can you tell me about Green's theorem?
Of course. Green's theorem is another important result in vector calculus that relates a line integral around a simple closed curve equation to a double integral over the plane region equation bounded by equation. Green's theorem states, equation here.
Okay. Explain what Newton's method is and how it can be used to find the square root of 2.
Certainly. Newton's method, also known as the Newton-Raphson method, is an iterative algorithm for finding successively better approximations to the roots or zeros of a real valued function. The method starts with the initial guess and refines it iteratively until reaching a desired level of accuracy. Here's how Newton's method works in general. 1. Start with an initial guess equation for the root. 2. Iterate using the formula, equation, where equation is the function whose root we are trying to find, and equation is its derivative. For finding the square root of 2, we can use Newton's method by framing it as a root finding problem. Specifically, we want to solve the equation, the derivative of equation.
You. Explain what the sampling theorem is.
Certainly. The sampling theorem, also known as the Nyquist-Shannon sampling theorem, is a fundamental concept in signal processing and information theory that defines the minimum rate at which a signal must be sampled to accurately reconstruct it without aliasing. Key points of the sampling theorem. 1. Sampling rate. The theorem states that to accurately represent a continuous time signal.
Stop. Explain Einstein's theory of general relativity.
Sure. Let's break down the sampling theory.
Explain Einstein's theory of general relativity.
Einstein's theory of general relativity is one of the most revolutionary theories in the history of physics, fundamentally changing our understanding of space, time, and gravity. Let's break it down step by step. Overview. General relativity was introduced by Albert Einstein in 1915. It extends his earlier special relativity and describes the gravitational force as a curvature of space-time caused by mass and energy. Key concepts. 1. Space-time. General relativity unites space and time into a single, four-dimensional continuum called space-time. 2. Gravitational curvature. Massive objects cause space-time to curve.
Let's stop there. Tell me a little bit about Star Trek.
Star Trek is a beloved science fiction franchise that has captivated audiences for decades with its exploration of space, culture, and technology. Here's an overview to get you started. Overview: Star Trek began as a television series in 1966 and has since grown into a massive multimedia franchise encompassing shows, movies, video games, books, and more. The original series TOS. Created by Gene Roddenberry. Premise: follows the crew of the USS Enterprise on its interstellar voyages to explore new
Okay,
worlds.
stop. That's one of its quirks there. Is sometimes, not very often, but it comes up in Chinese. Presumably because it's the Alibaba model, and it's made by Chinese people. I'm not really sure why it does that, but you can suppress that more using the system prompt. I'm going to start again, but this time now I'm going to do full duplex, and you'll see the difference between full duplex and half duplex. And keep a close eye this time again on the gain. Didn't get much chance the last time. And I'll just do a discussion. You've seen the maths before, but I mean, I'll maybe do some more, but let's just get going. Hello, can you tell me about Star Trek?
Absolutely. Star Trek is a beloved science fiction franchise that has inspired countless fans and even more episodes, series, films, and spin-offs over the years. Origin and overview: the original Star Trek television series began airing in 1966 on NBC.
Okay, but can you tell me who the best Star Trek captain was?
That's a subjective question, as different fans might agree or disagree based on their personal preferences. However, here are a few top contenders for the title of Best Star Trek Captain: Captain James T. Kirk, the original series and relaunch. Leader of the USS Enterprise, Captain Kirk is perhaps the most iconic
I get that. Now let's talk about Shakespeare.
Sure thing. What would you like to discuss?
Let's discuss about Shakespeare.
Absolutely. William Shakespeare is one of the most influential and widely studied playwrights in English.
But can you give me a quote from Shakespeare?
Certainly. Here's a famous quote from William Shakespeare: "To be or not to be," from Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them.
Okay, can you now speak as if you were in Shakespeare's time?
Verily, fair friend, come closer that I may speak to thee in the manner of yesteryear. 'Tis but a gentle wind that brings these words to thine ear from the lips of...
In this same voice, can you give me a recipe for chicken curry?
In truth, fair friend, 'tis but a simple dish that we shall craft together, a humble curry that doth pair well with rice or naan. Let us begin. A recipe for chicken curry: ingredients: 1 whole chicken, about 3 pounds, cut into pieces.
What if I wanted the curry to be really hot?
Ah, a dish that is truly fiery. then our curry must embolden with the spirit of heat. Let us incorporate some spices that will bring the kitchen to flame and add an intense kick. A recipe for really hot chicken curry ingredients. 1 whole.
Tell me what the cosmological constant is.